Why wouldn't Newcastle wait and try and get the very best deal for themselves? Don't forget, you know, this was a Manchester United who tried to get £10 million out of Newcastle for a Jesse Lingard loan fee only a couple of years ago. Well, hello again from the streets of Gosforth, and what a glorious afternoon it is. Yeah, this little video reflection might just end up in a beer garden with any luck. We'll have to wait and see. Before we go any further, don't forget in the description below, this is the link through to our new Newcastle United dedicated WhatsApp service. Loads of content in there all this week. So please, guys, click on that link and join the growing band of followers. But for now, on this channel, I've been at Eddie Howe's press conference this morning. There's plenty to go at on that. The manager was in good form again. Call him clever, call him cutting, call him what you like. We've got to revisit what he said, and more to the point, what he didn't say, and pick between the lines of that with regards to Dan Ashworth. But before that, we'll take a look at Arsenal, the latest fitness news, where, of course, Newcastle are ahead in this weekend. Well, the last time Newcastle won at Arsenal, I was actually watching in a hotel room in Colombo, the capital of Sri Lanka, with my wife. Was it my wife? It was definitely the woman I went on to marry. I'm just wondering, was she my wife at the time? No, she was still my girlfriend, which shows actually how long ago it was. Yeah, 2010, 14 years ago. Wow, that was a long time. It feels like I've been married to her for ages. But anyway, I hope she's not watching. Newcastle, actually, speaking of Andy Carroll, probably could have done with him last week at home to Bournemouth, given the absence of any strikers. But the good news this week, and this was something I brought you on Tuesday, was that Alexander Isak as well as Joe Willock trained for the first time. They've come through the week, as far as we know, unscathed, and they'll be in the squad heading down to Arsenal tomorrow. Fabian Schär as well, he's okay. I saw him in the coffee shop the other day, and he was handing a cup of coffee with absolutely no problems whatsoever. So there you go, his wrist is okay. Eddie Howe confirmed that this morning. One little whisper that I've heard this week, and back end of last week as well a little bit, is that Newcastle have been working on a new formation in training that would see them go to a 3-5-2 potentially. Now, for Eddie Howe to do that from the outset of a game, wow, that would be an absolutely tremendous leap, given that he has started every match this season with the 4-3-3 formation. Now, I do just think, however, this might be an occasion for it. Now, the debate came up again this morning at Eddie's press conference. What does he do with Dan Burn? Does he leave him in? Does he take him out for Tino Livramento? I honestly think this could be an occasion where Livramento comes in, but Burn doesn't go out. Dan Burn goes into a back three, Tino Livramento at left wing back, Kieran Trippier at right. That way I think you've got better protection down the flanks. I think you've got more solidity in the centre of the defence, where for me, Sven Botman has been struggling a little bit recently. And this, in many ways, it could actually be a game for Dan Burn. Now, Newcastle really shouldn't be being hit on the counter a great deal here, because I don't expect them to attack a great deal really. So we've seen those situations before where Newcastle are on the back foot and they are predominantly defending. Dan Burn is good in those situations. You know, look at the first 15-20 minutes of times down at Aston Villa when the ball was coming at the box. It needed to be kicked, it needed to be headed, it needed to be blocked. He does that, and he does that well. So I honestly think come on, mate, you've got a second gear. I honestly think this might actually be an occasion for Dan Burn to play, and then you would see a midfield three and perhaps two up front. Now, like I say, I think it would be a big leap for Eddie Howe to do that, given we know how weathered he is, to the 4-3-3. But let's just see what plays out tomorrow. Now, why as well would he be tempted to do that? Well, for me, if Newcastle can contain Arsenal, I do think a 3-5-2 offers more protection. The 4-3-3, every week Newcastle are almost guaranteed to concede 1, 2, if not 3 goals. It really is quite alarming at the moment, the way the midfield is picked off, and all of a sudden that back four is exposed, either a centre-back being isolated or a full-back being isolated in the case of Dan Burn. Now, going to the 5 at the back, 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it, I think that offers better protection. Then, for once, Eddie Howe has actually got options from the bench. He's got the ability to look at a bench which will include Isak, which will include Willock, maybe even Harvey Barnes if he comes out for this one, and players who, if you can get to a point whereby on the hour they're still in the game, you can change it and try to impact it that way. So, like I say, it would be a surprise, but just little whispers I'm hearing, it wouldn't be a shock. Now, back to today's press conference, and Eddie Howe was really good value again. And a week ago when I did this video, I honestly don't think, I've watched it back, I don't think I really fully appreciated until sort of later in the day, then when I read my copy in the Daily Mail the following morning, quite how clever and quite how cutting Eddie really was when it came to Dan Ashworth. On reflection, what the manager said in that press conference left Ashworth's position pretty much untenable for me. Come Sunday, Dan Ashworth had asked to leave the club, news broken by myself at the Daily Mail, and he was placed on gardening leave. Now, where are we at from a news perspective? Yeah, Ashworth's on gardening leave. He will remain there for the next 20 months unless Manchester United come and present a package to release him early. Now, I've seen various figures quoted anywhere between 10, 15, 20 million. My understanding at the moment is, and again, none of these figures are being confirmed officially, is that somewhere around £15 million would see really swift progress. I don't think Manchester United are going to go there, what I'm hearing for now at least. So maybe down the line we see a figure lower than that, whatever it may be, whereby Dan Ashworth starts work after the summer window. But what did Eddie Howe say on that this morning? And again, this is open to interpretation. I know how I interpreted, but he said Newcastle, with regards to the next appointment, need a sporting director who will come in and will be there for the long term. It's a long-term role. Now, Dan Ashworth, of course, left after 20 months. You take that as a dig at him, like I say. Interpret it what you will. He was then asked, and this will perhaps sway your thinking, he was then asked to evaluate the job Dan Ashworth has done at Newcastle. And he said, I honestly can't answer that. I don't want to go there. So, yeah, I wouldn't want Eddie Howe writing my job reference, put it that way. Then, as well, I thought this was really interesting. He was asked the direct question, would you actually want a sporting director? He said, well, that isn't my call, but I would have an opinion on that. And the reason I think, not that Eddie wouldn't necessarily want a sporting director, but I think he would want the next guy coming in, a certain type of sporting director. And this is something I spoke about in last Thursday's video. I honestly think the role will be redefined, that they're going to have to look at the mistakes, if you want to call it that, of the Ashworth reign and determine exactly what it is they want from a sporting director. Certainly with regards to recruitment, what they don't want coming in for me now is a transfer guru type, someone who will have really strong, firm ideas on players they want and players they believe they can bring in and sign and see themselves as the main guy in that regard. You've already got that structure in place whereby you've got Eddie Howe, you've got Steve Nixon, who they think a lot of. You've also got Andy Howe, Jason Tindall, Eddie's inner circles. That is the recruitment team. I think that's how it will continue going forward. And this was something Eddie touched on as well last week as well in his press conference again, quite pointedly, that the most successful transfer window of Newcastle post takeover was the very first one without Dan Ashworth, and the second most successful was the one, Eddie's words, when Dan Ashworth had only just arrived at the club. So there you go, and they'll go back to working with that model. And I mentioned there some of the names involved. Well, you've also got Mehrdad Qadusi and Amanda Stavey as well, who were at times acting as de facto directors of football, sporting directors when it came to recruitment. I mean, if they do it again, if in the next summer, in the summer window coming, they get every signing right and they smash it out the park like they did do previously with that model, you could have a case for Mehrdad Qadusi becoming sporting director on a regular basis. Yeah, I mean, would he have gardening leave written into his contract? That would be a story we could write down the line, couldn't it? Last night, Mehrdad Qadusi last night informed Newcastle he wishes to join Chelsea. I do joke, but the point I'm making is a serious one. It worked well before Dan Ashworth, and I've got no doubt that it will work well again. Now, a lot of people have asked me for my thoughts on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments this week when he claimed that it would be absurd for Newcastle to make Dan Ashworth wait the full period of gardening leave before taking up the position at Manchester United. Well, those comments for me, they're just naive. Why wouldn't Newcastle wait and try and get the very best deal for themselves? Don't forget, this was a Manchester United who tried to get £10 million out of Newcastle for a Jesse Lingard loan fee only a couple of years ago. So why would they do Manchester United any favours? They inquired about Scott McTominay last year, the year before, and the asking price just kept on creeping up and up rather than going down. So no, I honestly think Newcastle have put themselves in this position, and they will wait until an offer that suits them is presented to them. Now, there's lots of different voices and competing noises on this, and other things I've heard and been told is that, Newcastle have actually got themselves in a position of potential weakness now because they've placed Dan Ashworth on gardening leave, and I do understand this argument. He now is useless to them, yet they are continuing to pay his wages and will do so for 20 months, if they take that stubborn approach, as it was put to me. Well, I honestly think that this is about more than just the money. There's two things. There's the point of principle here. There's Newcastle needing to be shown that they aren't a soft touch, that they won't just roll over for a key senior member of staff. As well, I think they know Manchester United's new incoming owner can't sit there and call Dan Ashworth, the best in the business, a 10 out of 10 sporting director, and then happily, for the sake of 10, 11 million pound, sit there and wait 20 months. I honestly think they know, or they expect Manchester United to act. And of course, as well, one of the jobs Dan Ashworth had at Newcastle was he was going to have to sell players to ease the FFP concerns. Now, it could actually be one of his best sales ends up being himself if that money does come in before the summer window, and would certainly ease Newcastle's concerns in that regard. But from Newcastle's point of view, and this goes back to what I said in the video last week, I found that absolutely staggering, to borrow Sir Jim Radcliffe's word. I found it absurd that Dan Ashworth was continuing, that he was still in the building, and I think Eddie Howe echoed those thoughts as well. He's gone now, and it was put to Eddie this morning actually that one of the things Eddie must be relieved about is that while Dan Ashworth last week had access to Newcastle's secrets and data and everything else, he doesn't have access to the thoughts inside Eddie Howe's head, which Eddie Howe laughed at and said, well, no, I would be concerned if he did have access to that. But anyway, Eddie did joke when that was put to him. But I'll tell you when he wasn't joking, when a coffee machine about 2 minutes into his press conference decided that was the moment it was going to reheat, or whatever that loud noise is when coffee machines do that. No, a look of absolute contempt towards the coffee machine, which prompted one of my colleagues to scramble and jump and reach for the plug and turn it off. So it did remind me going forward now to always have my mobile phone on airplane mode. I wouldn't want Eddie shooting those looks in my direction. Well, finally, back to the football. What do I expect down at Arsenal tomorrow, if I'm being honest? And I always say I try to be. You can't really hold out a great deal of hope. Now, if there is a change in formation, a tweaking system, I would just like to see Newcastle go there and try something new. Go there and try to do something to affect what feels a fairly inevitable fate. I know the form on the road has been decent enough of late, 4 straight victories in all competitions, but I honestly think this is a totally different proposition. And if you are really pushing me for a prediction, which I always like to do it myself on these videos, I think it'll be difficult for Newcastle to get a result down there. Now, I actually won't be down at Arsenal tomorrow. It's a rare weekend off for myself. For my dad's birthday, I'm taking him to the Ida Chase at Newcastle races, and given, bearing in mind my prediction, probably might not be a bad one to miss from a Newcastle perspective. But before I do go as well, a quick shout out to viewers Ange and Norm. Ange, who was lovely, served myself and my little boys in the coffee shop at Gibbside National Trust earlier in the week, and she couldn't get over how tall I was, but said I looked small on screen. This is me, Ange, big guy, but anyway, no, thank you again for watching. It really is much appreciated. All of the viewers, the interaction, the comments below, and seeing you guys out and about in the street, it really is great fun. Speaking of interactions, the last time I was here in the county pub, which I'm just coming up to now behind the camera, a guy came up to me and said, I'm the fella who puts your head on things, which was a little bit unnerving. Turns out he was a lovely fella, and he's the one who mocks up the various pictures of myself at various times. But anyway, no, he was lovely, and we've exchanged messages since. But I didn't think it would end up with that relationship when he opened with, I put your head on things. But anyway, here I am, the county, as previously predicted and hoped for. I wanted this video to end up in a beer garden, so here I am. My wife never gets past 30 seconds on these videos, so I think I'm safe. But anyway, guys, thank you again for watching. Like I said, please join the WhatsApp service in the description below. There's also the link through to his copy and my brand new NUFC notebook as well. There's absolutely loads of stuff in there, including a little tale about a recent rat infestation at St James's Park that has now been sorted. They have been chased. But anyway, loads of stuff in there. Again, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I won't see you tomorrow, but I will see you on Monday morning for Eddie Howe's latest press conference ahead of the FA Cup trip down at Blackburn. Okay, guys, see you soon. Take care. There we go. Bye-bye.